Before we start talking about placing patterns on, we need to talk about fabric itself. If you choose a fabric with a print, this is a very busy print. It also is one direction, which means there is nothing upside down. There's a lot of stuff on here, but there's definitely, this is the top and this is the bottom down here. So when I lay a pattern on, I want to make sure that my pattern sits so the top of my pants would be up here so that when I wear the garment, all the text and photographs are right side up and not upside down. So that would cover fabric with a pattern. The fabric that I'm actually going to use today is a plaid. That also takes a little special attention. Scoot this down a little bit. When you lay out your fabric and prep it for pattern, you need to make sure, first of all, that the plaid matches when you fold it over. So we always fold it right sides together. We want to make sure that the plaid is actually matching on the top and the bottom when you fold it. So that's pretty easy to do, actually. Just line the plaid up with itself and smooth it all out. Okay, so that's that. When I go to place my pattern on, I'm going to, with this plaid, it doesn't really matter which direction I use as the top, as long as I'm consistent. If I'm going to use the right end as the top, that means my front and back both have to use the right end as the top. So I'm going to go ahead and place my pant front on, and I'm going to put it down to the bottom of the fabric and as close to the selvage as I can get it. I'm always looking to conserve fabric, and I always want to put it as close to the selvage edge as possible, leaving the folded edge uncut, because this is a pretty large continuous piece of fabric. After I cut this away, I still have this whole area that I can unfold possibly and use if I need it. If I don't have enough fabric for a pocket, I can always unfold this and use that for a pocket potentially. So things to think about: where you position your pants. You want to maximize your fabric. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to measure from selvage edge to my grain line arrow. So all patterns have a grain line arrow unless the pattern is placed on fold. If it's placed on fold, the folded edge of the fabric is your grain line. So I'm going to measure now. I've got 8 3/4 at this end of the arrow. And I've got 8 1/4 at this end of the arrow. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a pin in here to hold 8 3/4, and then I'm going to bump the bottom end out till I get 8 3/4 on this end. I need to go another 1/4 inch. So that looks pretty good to me. So now I'm going to put a pin here. Now I know my pants are on grain. Top end of the arrow, double-ended, 8 3/4, bottom end, 8 3/4. Beautiful. So now I can go ahead and pin all the way around my pant. I always pin my corners because that pattern will just flip up and it's not very accurate when you're cutting. So let's do this real quick and we'll move on to the next pattern. I'm also going to check to see if maybe I can fit a pocket down here on the end. I'm not sure, but we'll give it a go. If not, we'll have to do a little play with it afterward after I cut this out, and we'll see where we can fit those pockets. Shouldn't be a problem. We can always make do with what we have. And if by chance I didn't have enough fabric for pockets, I can always use any other kind of fabric to make pockets. Because they're stuck inside, nobody's really going to see them. So here's my pocket. Ooh, yay, it fits. Well, that's good. Just fits. And I'm going to measure my grain. Actually, it may not fit because I'm looking at my grain. No, she is not going to work. Just shy, like a smidge, like a hair, 1/16 of an inch, but you know, that's the way it goes. All right, I'm gonna scoop my fabric down. Maybe I can fit it in here. That's a good possibility. It's always good. Pockets usually fit really well in the cutout where the crotch is. That's the scoop part of your pattern. I think I can fit the pocket right here, which is awesome. Okay, I'm measuring here my grain line on my pocket to the folded edge of my fabric, which can also indicate your grain. Your straight of grain is either your selvage or your folded edge. So either will do. So here I have 2 3/4. Down here I have 2 3/4. Yay. So that's perfect. So I'm going to quickly pin, always pin your arrows, your grain line arrows down so they don't shift. And then I'm going to pin various other spots to keep it in place for cutting, like we did before. And I'm looking at this pocket and I'm like, well, it looks a little poofy. This fabric, this flannel fabric is kind of fluffy. So when I pin, it actually makes the pattern poof up a little bit. So I'm just readjusting it to get it to lay really flat. Okay, now I'm ready for my second pattern piece, and that is my pant back. So I've got my pant back on here right now. Top is at the right end, just like the front was, but I've got my crotches going this way, and if I were to leave my crotch that way, I really want to keep my folded edge open. So I'm going to flip this pattern over, which is good. You can do this. And I'm going to scoot it over here close to the edge. Oh, and we were going to talk about matching plaid. That we were going to do. So when we match plaid, it's really quite easy actually. I'm going to take a marker here and I'm going to mark my pattern where the stripes are. So I got a big wide stripe here, a big wide stripe there, and that's a red stripe, and then I've got a red and green stripe here, and skinny red here. See, skinny red here, and green and red stripe here. Okay, so that's how I'm transferring that. I'm going to put my other pattern on here, matching the side seams, because that is where the front and the back will meet, so I want the pattern to meet there. So I'm going to transfer those marker lines onto this other pattern, and then I'm going to lay it onto the plaid and match this with the fabric pattern, or the fabric plaid. Okay, put it down here. Let's move this down so you can see. Okay, so now I want to match the plaid. So I had the wide red, which was here, skinny red, green red. Okay, well it matches there, and am I gonna clear that pattern? I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to pin this in place right now, and then I'm going to check my grain line. And right now this could work, but I'm kind of running into the other pant leg. So I almost got one piece on top of the other by a hair, but I might be able to adjust that because the pattern's got to come out a little bit, I'm sure. All right, so let's measure our grain and see if that's going to adjust it for us. So at the top, my grain is roughly 8.5. Actually, I'm going to make it 8 5/8. Scoot it back in a little bit. So 8 5/8 up here. I'm going to put a pin in there to hold it. Coming down here. I think I'm going to have to move it up. I just don't think it's going to work. 8.5. So I got to scoot this out a smidge. 8 5/8. So it's on grain, but down here, I'll show you. Down here, it's just too dang close, I think. So I'm going to move my pattern up to the next stripe section. So let's move this up to the next red stripe. Perfect. Just enough fabric at the top. I was a little nervous about that too, but we got just enough. So that's cool. All right, so let's measure again. I think 8 5/8 was what I was gonna go for. Let's get that back. Perfect, 8 5/8, first time out. Cool. So let's measure down again to the bottom of the arrow. 8, got 8.5 right now, so we just need to kick it out a little. That's 8 5/8 right here. Okay, so I'm just going to readjust this guy a little bit. And that. Good. Plaid is matching well. I'm very happy about that. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and pin this all around. Quickly. Pinning all around. Then we're going to cut quickly, but carefully, always carefully. And then I've got to figure out where I'm going to place the other pocket. I do need to make 2 cuts for the pocket. Because I need a pocket for each leg. I don't know if I can fit it up here. I might be able to. That would be awesome. So let's cut the pocket out first. See if then I can move the pocket up. When you cut, you don't want to lift your fabric up because that knocks it all out of shape. Keep the fabric flat on the table. I always put my hand right on it so it can't lift up, and I just slide my scissors underneath. Because I don't want my fabric to lift up. Every time it lifts up, it skews. So we don't want it to do that. We want it to stay as flat as possible. So I always put my other hand on top just to keep it in place. Of course, don't cut yourself. That would be painful. Okay, so I have one pocket cut out. Please right away go in and mark or cut into your notches, making a cut from the bottom to the top of the point. Just 2 cuts, that's a double notch. I have a single notch up here, so I'm gonna cut into that notch. And then I have 2 circles that I need to mark. And I'm just going to mark it with a pencil. If you have dark fabric, pencil's not going to do it. You can use a piece of wax, piece of chalk. If you don't have any of that at home, you could use a piece of soap, because that would just wash away if you have hard or bar soap. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I marked one of my circles, so I have to. And I just went right through the paper. I took my pencil and just poked through the paper, so I left a pencil mark here, right? So I just went right through the paper. Now how do I get to the other side? I'm going to stick a pin through where I just put that pencil mark. Stick it right through. So where the pin comes out on the other side, I am just going to make a pencil mark. Make sure your pin goes straight in, not skewed, because that won't help you either. Okay, pin through, mark the other side. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm done with this. I can take the pins out and remove the pattern, and I'm going to set my pocket aside. Let's see if I can fit pocket up here. No, that is not going to fit. All right, so we'll have to come back to that other pocket in a little while, but that I'm probably going to end up using this fabric here when I open it up. So I will show you that quickly. I'm going to cut these guys out. Quickly but carefully. saving this because I'm probably going to need it for my pocket. Okay, I'm just going to turn my fabric this way so I can finish cutting this side of the leg, and then I'm done with the pant back. Okay, so that is good. Pant back. I'm going to now mark my notches. Snip into the triangle. Snip into the triangle. Double notch there. Outside, double notch, double notch. I also need to mark on this pattern where my pocket is going to go. This is the pattern. Pocket goes this way, 3 inches down from the top of the waistband is the top of the pocket. So I'm going to mark the circle on here because I got to put those circles on my pant. So here's a circle here and a circle there. So I'm marking right through to my pant. So again, the top of the pocket, 3 inches down from the top of the waistband. That's where that will go. That'll line your pocket up. So I'm going to put a pin in to mark the hole on the other side quickly. And down here, the other side, pocket. Great. So, got all my notches, I got my pocket marked. I'm going to cut out, this is ready to be serged. I'm going to cut out my front, and then I need to lay out the other pocket. Okay, saving that because I'm going to need that for my pocket. Okay, so that's done. Now once again, I'm going to take my pocket pattern, which will go on the pants like so. Top of the pocket to the top of the pant, measure 3 inches down. This is for those of you that your pattern didn't come with a pocket. The rest of you guys, the other class, you don't have to worry about this. So, circle there. But for those of you that didn't get a pocket and you want a pocket, this is what we're going to do. Put it marked there. Great. Marking through the other side. And same thing up here. Great. Okay, then you want to go through and cut your notches, which I don't need to show you again. You can do that on your own. Okay, let's figure out this pocket. So I'm going to open up this fabric. This is the fabric that was on the folded edge. There's that piece. And there's this piece. So I'm going to put the two pieces on top of each other, matching the plaid. So let's match the plaid, and then I can go ahead and put my pocket on there and cut it out. Okay, so I've got the plaid matched right here. Of course, if you don't have a plaid, you don't have to worry about doing that. Okay. Go. And I suppose because it's inside of a pocket, nobody's going to know, but you know, it's good practice. All right, so now, since I don't have a selvage and I don't have a folded edge anymore, where do I measure? Well, I still have a fold line from when my fabric was folded, which I can use. I'm just going to put my arrow, my double-ended arrow, right on the fold line. Scoot it up a little bit. And I'm good to go because I know that's my straight of grain. So I don't even have to measure. If I wanted to place the pocket over here, I would just measure from my ruler to where that fold line was, which you can do too. I can do that. So from there to the fold line is 1.25 inches. Here to the fold line, I got 1 inch, so I got to scoot it a little. 1.25 inches. Okay, so we're good. And honestly, with plaids and stripes or anything like that, you can just put your grain line on a stripe because that's generally on grain. Stripes are all usually on grain. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out this last pocket. You don't need to watch me do that. You've already done it. And then your next step, people, is serging all of your pieces, which I don't need to show you either. You all know how to use the serger. And then we will get back together and start putting these pants together. All right, see you soon.